Money FM 89.3. Best of breakfast. Morning Shot.
Welcome to Morning Shot. Singapore attracted $13.5 billion in fixed asset investment commitments in 2024. Close to $1 billion more than the previous year. In its latest annual report, the Economic Development Board says most of these came from electronics driven by emerging trends like AI and digitalisation. Biomedical manufacturing and semiconductors in particular did pretty well, although the number of jobs expected to be created when these commitments are realized over the next 5 years was slightly lower than that churned out by investments in 2023. 2/3 of these are expected to have a gross monthly wage above $5,000. New areas of growth highlighted in the report include AI, precision medicine, as well as carbon services. Now, for more insights, we are pleased to be joined by Jillian Lim, Executive Vice President of the Economic Development Board. Good morning, Jillian. So nice to have you on.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, you're welcome. So how would you assess, Jillian, last year's results in terms of the type of investments and opportunities that EDB attracted?
We actually saw a strong slate of investment commitments, as you mentioned, from diverse sectors and growth areas. In manufacturing, we saw investments, especially in electronics and biomedical sectors, but also aerospace and specialty chemicals. We made progress in growth areas in AI, precision medicine, green economy. There was also continued investments in headquarters, R&D and innovation activities. And we gained traction with startups and founders launching new ventures in Singapore. All in all, I feel we had very good investments from existing companies as well as companies that are new to Singapore. And we're very encouraged that companies continue to trust in what Singapore has to offer.
Yeah, investments spreading far and wide. Now, interestingly, a pretty big chunk of investments came from semiconductors and biomedical manufacturing. Do you think manufacturing will remain a mainstay for our economy here in Singapore? And do you expect this trend to continue in the near to midterm?
Indeed, manufacturing is a key pillar of Singapore's diversified economy. It contributes about 20% of Singapore's GDP, employs about 450,000 workers, provides good jobs. Close to 70% of the roles in manufacturing are PMAT roles. And manufacturing has been evolving and has evolved over time, and it shows in the kind of projects we saw last year as well. Just to cite 3 examples, one of the French pharmaceutical company, Sanofi, actually invested in the world's first modular concept manufacturing facility in Singapore for vaccines and biological medicines. Another example is Evonik, a German company, not only expanded its Jurong Island plant to be the largest in the world for methionine, but also actually in the process reduced carbon footprint. And Coca-Cola plant in Tuas was actually recognized by the World Economic Forum as Lighthouse Factory. With machine learning and robotics, it improved productivity and speed to market while cutting emissions. So manufacturing also actually creates a lot of multiplier effects on other industries and our local enterprises. And EDB, together with our sister agency, Enterprise Singapore, have been working closely to encourage collaborations, especially in supplier development and co-innovation. For example, local company Sunningdale has been expanding to provide critical components to MNCs, such as Illumina's DNA sequencing kit in the healthcare sector. So we overall expect manufacturing sector to continue to grow and provide good jobs and good opportunities for people in Singapore.
All right, so manufacturing to remain robust. Let's touch on jobs, as you've briefly already alluded to. So we saw about 18,700 jobs created last year. That's a bit shy of some 20,000 jobs the previous year. What would you say were some of the reasons behind that?
Actually, the results are in line with previous years. The drop is not a significant one. We do see year-on-year fluctuations. It depends very much on the profile of projects in a year. And we usually don't pay too much attention on year-to-year changes that don't reflect underlying trends. Importantly, I think we focus on creating good jobs that Singaporeans can access and provide good career prospects for our workforce.
All right, let's have a deeper dive at the jobs created then. They were mainly driven by investments in services, so about 46%, followed closely by manufacturing at 37% and R&D and innovation at 17%. Do we have the necessary talent, Jillian, talent pool to fill these jobs, and what's being done to prep our workforce to take on these roles?
Thanks for that question. It is a priority for EDB. Based on our experience, majority of jobs created will be taken up by locals. And EDB works very closely with companies to link to the schools to profile the kind of careers they offer. And we also work with other agencies to also offer support in terms of cost sharing in training of local talent, upskilling, reskilling, career conversion programs. And it's very important, too, that we provide support for Singaporeans in grooming into leadership roles. Examples are development programs we have with the Human Capital Leadership Institute, and mentorship under the Singapore Leaders Network, and even support for overseas assignments. And we are also very encouraged, I think, by the showing of, commitment by companies stepping up on the training of the broader ecosystem. In AI, for example, Oracle and Amazon are examples of companies that have committed to train local workers and upskill tertiary students in Gen AI. We've also seen partnership between the Biopharmaceutical Manufacturers Advisory Council and Republic Polytechnic to train in biopharma manufacturing capabilities. A much-needed talent pool, for the kind of projects we are bringing into Singapore. And in the green economy, another example is the Carbon Market Academy that has just been launched by NTU in collaboration with EDB and Enterprise Singapore. It is slated to train 300 professionals by 2027. So in short, we are looking at many exciting job opportunities for Singaporeans and different ways how Singaporeans can actually access support to access these jobs in diverse areas.
All right, let's turn our attention to new growth areas, some of which you've already talked about, that were highlighted in the report. So AI, precision medicine, and carbon services. Can you elaborate a little more on why these areas were identified and in what ways you think the sectors are set to grow this year?
There are two things we look at as we look at new areas to promote. I think one is, of course, whether there's a growth opportunity, and the next is whether Singapore has the capabilities or has the potential to build the capabilities to take advantage of these growth opportunities. In AI, we view AI as a growth opportunity because Singapore has such deep capabilities in industry verticals, and with AI adoption across industry sectors, AI projects and roles will definitely contribute to job numbers. In 2024, we have seen 26 AI centers of excellence from digital as well as non-tech industrial companies set up in Singapore. And we have now a total of 1,100 AI startups and 150 AI R&D teams already calling Singapore home. And we continue to build upon this ecosystem, in terms of the infrastructure, the compute capacity. And EDB and Enterprise Singapore is also supporting new accelerators by companies like Google, Amazon Web Services, NVIDIA to train talent through industry partnerships. And we hope to triple AI talent pool to 15,000 by 2029. And coming to precision medicine, I think, again, it builds upon Singapore's capabilities, which we have built over the many decades in pharmaceutical sector. And we see the global shift towards precision medicine giving rise to innovation, manufacturing, commercialization opportunities that we can capture here. One example is a company called AstraZeneca, which is a biopharma giant. And AstraZeneca has actually announced a US $1.5 billion investment in a greenfield facility producing next generation drugs that actually target cancer cells. So this is the first in Singapore, and we're very excited about opportunities presented by precision manufacturing, precision medicine in this regard. And finally, in green economy, definitely we're seeing consumers and businesses coming on board the sustainability and climate protection move. There are a lot of opportunities in manufacturing and development of sustainable products or carbon services, professional services that can be provided to the region as well as globally. Examples include companies like Kurare that has invested in its first Southeast Asia plant in Singapore to produce a resin which is widely used for sustainable food packaging, which actually extends the shelf life of products and reduces the need for preservatives. I mean, it's health, wellness, and climate protection all at once. Sustainability projects as this, and which very much fits the profile of the kind of investments that we look to anchor more in Singapore. So overall, we look to ride on sectors that are fast growing, so that Singapore can plug into the global economic growth and growth potential in the immediate region.
Right. So I think this just goes to show that Singapore is a very attractive investment destination. But, we have a few situations, including tariffs that U.S. President Donald Trump has put out, global competition for investments, and that's resulted in greater global economic uncertainty. So what does Singapore need to do to remain an attractive investment destination?
Well, companies are needing, and countries like Singapore are needing to actually navigate quite a lot of geopolitical situations, as well as a more and more competitive global environment, definitely. On the issue of U.S. tariffs, I think it's too early to comment on the impact as the situation is still unfolding. But we wanted to, from our experience, what we see is that companies make investments with a longer-term perspective, not just based on year-to-year fluctuations. And what we have seen is companies choose to be here because Singapore makes a difference for them in terms of our connectivity, our talent base, our pro-business policies, and also very much because of our strategic location in Asia and Southeast Asia, which is one of the fastest growing regions in the world today. So despite, I think, some of these global developments, which everybody has to deal with, we are closely monitoring and engaging companies closely. One of the things we can do and will continue to do is, of course, to work on the diversity in the types of projects we land in Singapore, in terms of the sources of investment projects, in terms of the industry sectors, in terms of the companies in our ecosystem, so that we ensure that our economy is not unnecessarily exposed to any specific narrow, areas which may have impact from some of these global developments.
All right, just to round things off here, Jillian, can we get a sense of the work that EDB is aiming to deliver in the coming months?
Right. So in the coming year, we do expect global economy to remain somewhat challenging with various uncertainties, as we've talked about.
Yep.
But we remain focused. We say the course EDB wants to land activities that are critical to global value chains, play to Singapore's strengths, hard for others to replicate. And in this regard, we'll continue focus on knowledge and innovation-intensive manufacturing and services projects, and also try to anchor new segments, including startups and new ventures in Singapore. And as I've mentioned, I think we do need to remain nimble and agile to navigate the changes in the global environment and to diversify our market sources of investments, industries in our ecosystem. And we are making sure in EDB that we cast our net far and wide to identify opportunities for Singapore, not only engaging the MNCs, but also mid-sized firms, foreign startups, founders. And our view is the broader our economic base, the more likely we can generate growth and have the resilience to withstand disruption and continue to create good jobs for Singaporeans.
All right, Jillian, thank you so much for your time. It's a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. That was Jillian Lim, Executive Vice President of the Economic Development Board. Stay with Money FM 89.3.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.